Are you ready for some smart, plain talk on politics, Israel, and the law? It's the Andrew Parker Show. Let's roll. The Andrew Parker Show here at the Doral Hotel and Resort. Beautiful for LIV Golf professional tournament. Donald Trump was here earlier in the day, and just inside, just talked with Eric Trump for a bit. Told him to keep it up. Upcoming episodes, we're going to be talking about the tariff issue. Should be interesting. And we'll give you an update. What's going on here with LIV Golf? There was an episode not long ago of the Victory Hour. We talked about the PGA battle with LIV Golf, and now it appears to be, not just now, but then it appeared to be a merger with LIV Golf. Kepka just came out this week and talked about the fact that they aren't quite as far along as he had hoped, having joined LIV Golf himself with the merger prospects and opportunities. So he expects them to be completed soon enough. So we'll see how the tournament goes. We'll give you an update later on in the day. Enjoy. Yes, indeed. The crowd is going wild as we have yet another episode of the Andrew Parker Show. And thank you for joining us. I want to talk today about golf. A game that, I think it's my favorite. My favorite to play, a favorite to watch. It might be hockey. As you know, I've back playing hockey now for nearly 20 years after giving it a 30-plus year layoff. And I love hockey, love watching it, love playing it, great team sport. But golf seeps into the very essence of life. And what I mean by that is when you're out there on the golf course, all of the foibles of life can get in the way of your game. If you are, and Tiger Woods is a great example. I mean, a steel trap out there, a machine who was raised to be a great golfer by his family, by his father. And he had all of the tools to do it, and he did it. A phenom, a golfer like never seen before. While Jack Nicklaus may be the greatest golfer of all time, during a period, Tiger Woods certainly played the greatest golf of all time. No, I don't think there can be any question about it. But then it fell apart. And I would argue that it fell apart not because of Tiger's inability on the golf course, an ability that he once had, but because of things that were going on off the golf course in his life that affected how well he was doing his craft. So golf, I would say, transcends, and maybe every sport does. Steph Curry may not be making three-pointers if he's got some problems and issues off the court, or if he's distracted by things off the court. But golf is uniquely personal. And it also involves others, and you're playing with a group, and so it's not you're on an island. And it also incorporates nature. and God's gifts to us. Sometimes when it's blowing at 20, 30 miles an hour, it doesn't feel like a gift for sure, but it's part of the game. In many respects, uniquely so. Terrain, grass, trees, water, bushes, all of that, all part of the game like no other game. And so it is, well, there's a great book you ought to read on golf, a philosophical book. It's on much more than golf, it's on life itself. But golf allows you to discuss life itself because philosophically it is, if you are really into golf, it is more than just a game. And the name of this book is Golf in the Kingdom. Fabulous book. Not very long, a great read. It's a philosophy book, but it's about the sport of golf. So I love golf, and I don't frankly play it much anymore. At one time, I was a pretty good golfer when I was young. I've lost that ability, and it's frustrating, of course. Anyone who's played golf understands the frustrations of golf. And again, much like the frustrations of life. But when you've had a period of time where you get up to the ball and you generally know where it is going because you have reached that level of competency in the game. And now you get up to the ball, you have no clue what's going to happen. And it does become quite frustrating. So I'm playing a lot less golf, but enjoying it no less. And I recently went to a golf tournament, which I enjoy doing greatly, down in Miami, and many of you know about it. The LIV Golf Tour had their U.S. event at Doral, Trump's Doral, in Miami. And it was a fabulous weekend, as you know, or maybe you don't. And it's very interesting. I didn't know this until somewhat recently. You know that LIV Golf plays 54 holes for their tournaments rather than 72 holes. It is one of the changes and differences in the LIV Golf Tour to the PGA Tour. And LIV, L-I-V, is the Roman numeral for 54. And so the 54-hole tournament is delineated in the very name of the tour, L-I-V, 54 in Roman numerals. And perhaps one of the biggest differences between LIV Golf and the PGA Tour. Move through it quicker. They move through the round quicker because they start in a shotgun start rather than tee times. So the entire course has activity and action all the time. Another change of the LIV Tour compared to the PGA Tour. But what I want to talk about as it relates to LIV ties it back to what we talk about on the Andrew Parker Show every episode, generally, and that is politics, Israel, and the law. And this really focuses on politics, the politics of LIV Golf. Because it's interesting, and it I don't think should be ignored. The impact of money, not just on sports, but on how the world gets along and who controls not just the narrative, but the rules.
the landscape of how people operate, how they engage with one another. Who controls that is often driven by money, by who has the power and authority based on money. Sometimes it is based not on money, but on military, on strength, on threats and fear. And of course, if there are evil regimes out there that also have a ton of money, that can be quite dangerous. They're certainly dangerous even without money. But when they have money and can go in and operate within the rules of different countries, different societies, by, for example, China buying up farmland throughout the United States of America. They're one of the biggest economies in the world, China. Now, they've got a lot of problems in that arena, for sure. No question about it. But the Chinese are able and have come to the United States, bought up infrastructure, bought up highly sensitive infrastructure, like at our ports. Also have bought up chains of operation in our food supply, including land. And that sounds a bit ominous, doesn't it? Yeah. But the Saudis, which you all know from the story regarding LIV coming in, creating this new golf tour to compete with a highly successful PGA Tour, and to not so much change the rules of golf, although somewhat, more so change the traditions and some of the rules of how tournaments are run and have been for decades, in fact, much longer, is interesting. An entire industry, the PGA Tour, which who would have thought would have this kind of competition. And the Saudis signed some top PGA golfers and European Tour golfers for huge sums of money. Dustin Johnson, for example, signed a 4-year, $125 million contract. And it was there for the offing because that's capitalism. Within the rules of our society, you can easily do that. And so why not, if you have the money, which the Saudis certainly do, buy up an entire industry? Now, the PGA Tour fought back, and it got into litigation. Another one of the rules and systemic systems that we have in place here, a judicial system in this country. And if you're coming in to operate an industry here, you got to play by those rules. And so it goes to the courts. Lo and behold, in 2023, there is a settlement resulting in the merger of the two. Let's not fight. Let's get along. So the Saudis now firmly have their foot in one of the most beloved activities and professional sports in all the United States, and that is golf. That is the PGA Tour. That's no big deal. What's wrong with that? Nothing. Well, maybe nothing. But maybe it's just the canary in the coal mine. Maybe it's just the first industry that they go into, and because it is the frivolity of sports and isn't life or death and isn't much more than entertainment, what's the big deal? But what about the next industry or the next one after that? Is this a bigger deal than it may seem? Or is it just a hobby for the crown prince? Let's talk for a minute about some of the differences, just because it's fun, between the PGA Tour and LIV Golf. As I said, LIV stands for 54, as you know, in Roman numerals, versus a 72-hole tournament that is the PGA Tour. LIV Golf is starting out, at least. They have 14 tournaments a year. And these tournaments are around the world. They're not like the PGA Tour, which largely and maybe largely is here in the United States on courses around the country. I think there are 40 tournaments on the PGA Tour. Secondly, they have huge purses for the winners for, where people place in the tournaments on the LIV Tour. Why? Because they have an endless supply of money. Immediately, boom, they start out in an industry with an endless supply of money. So they're throwing money at these tournaments, keeping guys who are playing for the money very interested, and making the competition serious and focused in that regard. However, they want to make it fun for the spectator. I had to see this, so I went to the LIV Golf tournament in Miami, and it was great. I really enjoyed it. First, again, it's 54 holes. Secondly, there's music abound throughout the course. They have speaker systems on almost every hole, but on numerous locations. The ropes are much closer into the players, where you're nearly right on top of the players, than at PGA Tour events, which I've also frequented. As I said, there is more money in the purses, as I also have talked about as it relates to Dustin Johnson. There is golfers are playing with huge contracts, and the contracts require them to play in X number of events and which events, and they're required to play. But, with the big purse, they want to play. There are some great PGA Tour golfers that are playing on the LIV Tour. There was a big fight, and they were suspended, and they couldn't play on the PGA Tour if they signed a contract with the LIV Tour, etc. Bryson DeChambeau, Dustin Johnson, Phil Mickelson, Brooks Koepka. I mean, these are top PGA players. Bubba Watson, Sergio Garcia, John Rahm. Top players around the world. Louis Osterhaus, I include him in there because I've always liked Louis Osterhaus. He's got a beautiful, beautiful golf swing. And, of course, the big champion of the LIV Golf Tour, not so much as a player anymore, of course, Greg Norman. One of the greats of all time, though I will never forget, as many of you won't, his performance and choke on the back nine of the Masters that he appeared to have in hand on the final day, back nine. But he didn't have it in hand. Look that one up. Greg Norman's collapse at the Masters. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. A record of success second to none. Parker Daniels Keyboard Law Firm, the numbers tell the story. The last 5 cases our lawyers have brought to trial have resulted in million and multi-million dollar verdicts for our plaintiff clients and zero defense verdicts for our defense clients. Put simply, we try cases and we win cases. Hi, I'm Andrew Parker. At Parker Daniels Keyboard, we take our work personally and we go the extra mile. That is why some of the biggest law firms, locally and nationally, send cases to us to handle when they can't. If you have a challenging and critically important business or personal legal dispute that must be favorably resolved, whether regarding a contract matter, a business divorce, a real estate dispute, an employment dispute, a civil rights or defamation matter, plain talk, if it's a big deal, contact us at Parker Daniels Keyboard. Wise counsel, winning results. Go to parkerdk.com. If you're considering options for a 1031 exchange, True North recommends checking out Walton Global. They're a land investment company with over 46 years of experience and a very impressive track record. Their clients are some of America's largest home builders, and True North recommends them highly. You can visit True North's website to get more information at investtruenorth.com or call at 619-455-0275. That's 619-455-0275.
I played this course. It was not easy. And professionals are having a difficult time of it. Is Saudi Arabia having a difficult time? If you take a look, we came out today to see whether LIV Golf has caught on. You know, it's kind of a Trumpian idea, and Trump is a supporter of the idea of LIV Golf. Creates competition with the PGA until they merge. Once they merge, who knows how it'll all come out. But when it's a Trump positive idea, you have half the country that hates the idea. And if you, in fact, lose half the country, plus all those who don't care about golf, how much support are you going to end up having if you're Saudi Arabia pushing LIV Golf? But I will tell you, I've seen a lot of good golf today, fun golf today. Music throughout the course, unusual. I haven't seen a tournament like this. The ropes, as you see, are very close to the play, unlike the PGA. And very nicely, because you don't have that many have bought tickets to show up at Doral, you can get right into the action. So it really is a fun time. But in the end, my prediction, it's not going to work out so well. Unless they come up with merger terms with the PGA that really allow the players to work together, those in LIV and PGA. We'll see if they can do that. We'll be back with you on an upcoming show and talk more specifics about the economics of LIV Golf and whether they're going to be around in 20 years. Until then, hit them straight.
The PGA Tour really is a meritocracy, which is one of the reasons I love it and I'll never leave it. For the LIV Tour, it's not like you have to pick. You can watch both, of course. But let me just finish this point before I get ahead of myself, and give you a little more of the experience. So I go to Doral, and Doral is, magnificent. I had gone to Doral. I had played Doral. I've played the Blue Monster a couple of times. When I was in high school, that's when I actually knew how to play the game. and went and played Doral many, many decades ago. And then since I played it just a few years after high school as well, but hadn't been back for 40 plus year or about 40 years. And it was magnificent. I don't know if it's because the Trump business interests bought up Doral, but the Trump International hotels are some of the nicest hotels, and the service and just the attention to detail are really something, at least in my experience. And Doral had the same attention to detail. It was a spectacular property. And LIV spares no expense. It is a bit different than the PGA Tour events, although the PGA Tour is excellent, outstanding to go to events. But uh, uh, you can tell that losing money it didn't appear to be a big concern for LIV Golf, because there weren't a ton of people there. And there was a lot of attention to detail. And so if you did go to the event, it was a great event. It really was, to watch golf. Also, because there weren't a lot of people there. And so, you could get right up on the rope. And as I said, the rope was much closer in than at PGA Tour events. Listen, the PGA Tour, as I said, is a meritocracy where if you're not doing well, you're not going to make a lot of money on the PGA Tour. In fact, you can lose money on the PGA Tour, even once you've gotten your PGA card, which is difficult enough to get and is a meritocracy. They're not letting you in unless your game is good. Doesn't matter how wealthy you are. Doesn't matter how much you're going to offer the tour. It doesn't matter how big of a crowd draw you might be. Say you're a comedian and you're playing golf. It's merit. You've got to earn your way on to the tour. I suppose with LIV Golf, with the great golfers they have signed up with huge contracts, luring them to this new tour. I suppose, that indicates meritocracy as well, because these are great golfers. But no, if they identify people that they want on the LIV Tour and offer them a contract for huge amounts of money, they're going to go out and play golf. They don't have the same sort of earn your way on the tour process. The same earn your way on the tour process. Certainly there is merit to the strength of the play out on the LIV Tour, and it was great play that I witnessed when I was down at Doral. But that is a difference between LIV and the PGA Tour, at least presently. The amount of money going toward all of the purses and what is paid out, as I mentioned, is much larger per event at on LIV than it is the PGA Tour. They have a whole arm on LIV which gives money to as it relates to the PGA Tour, to charity. And that is a big piece of the PGA Tour. And so, you see they bring the big check out at the end of the event, and money is going to charity. There's really no dead time on the LIV Tour. As I said, it's a shotgun start. You can wear shorts. They're playing music, as I said. And very interesting is they have team events. You're both playing individually, but you also have a team, and the team is sponsored, and they have owners of the various teams, much like NFL football or baseball, the major sports own these teams, and they want to lure the best players to their teams. They also want to have parity, and there are rules related to that. But usually you have a big name player who is the captain of these teams, and the names that I mentioned a few minutes ago were captains of various teams. They're not all stacked on the same team. And so you can follow the team event for the tournament as well as the individual event. So those are some of the differences, and this merger that has come about as a result of the litigation settlement. Very little has happened with respect to it, and you still have a bit of chafing between LIV golfers and PGA Tour golfers, and just the attitude of one to the other, the way they look at one another, if you will. I don't know if it'll ever change because, like a Rory McIlroy who stayed on the PGA Tour does not agree with what the LIV Tour is all about. Just doesn't have the same relationship with a Phil Mickelson that he did at one time. So what is it about the Saudis coming in and changing the centuries-old game of golf? The PGA Tour and what we have become so accustomed to. Golf may be the one sport that will live and die based on its history, its tradition. It may be the last to kick tradition to the curb. Even baseball has kicked tradition to the curb in some respects. Not as much as football, not as much, although hockey hasn't kicked it to the curb much either. Golf has, only to the extent that some of the equipment has changed dramatically over the last many decades, even from when I was playing some good golf. I still have my little persimmon 3-wood that I use quite often when I play today. But, nobody plays with those wood clubs, real wood clubs anymore. I just like the tradition of it. And I frankly think that the metal wood, everyone gets all excited about the 330-yard drive. I think it has changed the game to the worse. You now have 7,800-yard courses. And people say, so what? If you have the equipment to play those courses, yeah, that's true. But the average golfer, the one that the rules are lined up and set to play with, can't play those courses. It's impossible. A par 4, 500 yards. What chance do they have? So it's it's not like basketball. The basket is 10 feet high. The court is the same court. Now they added the 3-point line, and that made a huge change. But otherwise, the game is the same for everybody. Steph Curry or my neighbor next door, Vern Mickelson's son, John Mickelson. We'd be out in the driveway shooting hoops, and then I'd say, let's lower the hoop so I can dunk. I mean, I'm the shortest guy in school. I want to be able to dunk. So we lowered the hoop down to 4 feet so I could dunk. Yeah, but they're not doing that. I mean, no, there's tradition here, and it's it is what the game. It's a 10-foot high hoop, and that's the game. So, I don't like the change in equipment in golf. But otherwise, the long-term traditions and the Saudis, I don't know. We'll see. They Live Golf has shifted a number of tournament rules. The game rules are um, pretty much the same, uh, but the tournament and what it looks like, and really the product that is being delivered to us all, uh, is different. And it's interesting. The competition may end up being good. But what if the Saudis bought up another whole industry or started to buy up a whole series of smallish industries? Uh, well, maybe that's okay. But what if the Saudis are, an enemy of the United States? Some people think they are for sure. I mean, heck, many flat out blame, and I think there's a lot of support for it, for 9/11. The Saudis, not Iraq, uh, not even Iran. Many say this, but the Saudis, and that they are the most dangerous regime, more dangerous than Iran. Barack Obama treated it that way in many respects. So, it's all nice, and we shouldn't get ominous about Live Golf. It's golf after all. But I think we should pay attention to it, particularly when we have what's going on in the United States in terms of polarization between the red team and the blue team that is seeping into our daily lives, our economy, and the way we operate from a business perspective. There are businesses that will only hire people who it appears are on the red team, others on the blue team. It's starting to divide who works for who. Employees are quitting because their employer is on the blue team or the red team opposite them. And they don't want to work for somebody like that. There are consumers, many consumers, that pick and choose where they shop, where they spend their money based on whether or not the business is blue or red, if they can tell. And, this is not something new, but the level to which it is occurring is somewhat alarming because it creates two societies within one. It creates two economies within one. And then it starts to chill speech. It starts to chill ideas, innovation. You're not going to talk about at the water cooler, any sort of policy ideas because it will label you. You can lose friends. You can lose family members. We become personally disassociated with others that we one time may have had a great relationship with. So the politics, the ethic, how we view the moral code of those on the blue team or the red team can impact economics. And if you have China, Saudi Arabia buying up industries, buying up parts of our economics, again, golf, I get that, maybe, I'm being a bit hysterical trying to apply it beyond, but I don't think so. It was very interesting that a government, a country, awash in money, could simply come into the United States and buy up an industry. Now, again, the PGA Tour is still the PGA Tour. It is still the governing body in golf, whether LIV wants to get in there and shake it up or not. But is it the canary in the coal mine? That is the question. Coming up on future episodes of the Andrew Parker Show, we're going to have some special guests soon. Brian McClung will be coming on the show, one-time chief of staff for Tim Pawlenty and press secretary for the governor of the state of Minnesota. He will have some very interesting comments, retrospective comments about those days back in the early 2000s compared to what's all happening today. And I would say that America shifted politically a great deal in 2008 with the election of Barack Obama. Not because he's black, not because he is was the first black president, but because of his politics. And as you know, I believe he was one of, if not the worst presidents for a number of reasons in U.S. history. And I've talked about that before, and we'll be talking about it again. But the reason I bring it up is Tim Pawlenty was governor before that. And I want to talk with Brian about remembering those days compared to what we are facing day in, day out today. So stay tuned for that with Brian McClung, again, one-time chief of staff for Tim Pawlenty and press secretary, and very involved in that great time in Minnesota history. Retired Justice Barry Anderson will be joining us on the Andrew Parker Show in not too long, and that'll be an interesting discussion of the law and the rule of law. Very important today as we are hearing the hue and cry of the entire democracy of the United States, the American experiment that has lasted for 200 and what, 75, whatever years, is over. It's coming to an end because the rule of law is being trampled, and this administration is destroying the United States and its democracy. So Justice Barry Anderson had a very interesting, and one of the great Supreme Court justices, I think, when he was on the bench here in Minnesota. We'll give his thoughts to the rule of law. The head of the JCRC, Steve Hunnigs, will join us on the Andrew Parker Show, a guest multiple times on the predecessor Victory Hour. And always interesting to have the head of the Jewish Community Relations Council, Steve Hunnigs, with us on the show. He'll be talking about anti-Semitism. And he is at the point of the spear as the voice for the Jewish community here in the Twin Cities, North Dakota, South Dakota. We're going to have a show coming up called The Chaos That Is Donald J. Trump. Is it chaos? Is it detrimental? Is it destroying the fabric of the United States? Are we in trouble? There are a lot of predictions that are going on right now, wringing of hands and people saying, oh my God, this has never happened before, and this is going to destroy everything we know and love. He is tearing it all apart. So we're going to talk about the chaos that is Donald J. Trump, and then we're going to have a few episodes turning to Israel, turning to the Middle East. We have not talked about the war in Gaza or in the Middle East in some time. And then we're going to have a show. Is Bibi Netanyahu really the devil incarnate? I mean, you would think if you go to a liberal hootenanny and they're talking about Israel, that Bibi Netanyahu is the Ayatollah Khomeini, or worse, worse. And the liberal voices regarding the government in Israel are hysterical. And are they grounded in fact? Of course, you may recall that Winston Churchill was, and Abraham Lincoln for that matter, were decried as warmongers who were destroying everything we hold dear and love. Yes, Winston Churchill and Abraham Lincoln. And when it came to Churchill, actually, both, they were defending the ideals, the moral, ethical fabric of our democratic societies from tyranny and ethical depravity. And it just seems so topsy-turvy, doesn't it? So we're going to talk about that on the Andrew Parker Show as well in episodes coming up. Make sure that you go to YouTube and follow the show and subscribe to the show. Go to our website, theandrewparkershow.com. Simple, theandrewparkershow.com. And sign up, get on our email list, jot down the phone number and text us questions, ideas. We get them all the time. And I got to say, I'm happy with what I am hearing from folks. They seem to really enjoy hearing the crazy ideas I might have or our guests might have, and some of the more sensible ones. Sensible that they disagree with. Because we got listeners from all walks, which is the way it should be, because the Andrew Parker Show is all about the great debate. Let's hear it from all sides. Indeed. And so with that, I bid you adieu until our next episode. Go follow us. Go subscribe. For more Smart Plain Talk, go to theandrewparkershow.com. Learn about all of your listening and viewing options. And remember, all the great things are simple, and many can be expressed in a single word: freedom, justice, honor, duty, mercy, hope. This episode of The Andrew Parker Show is sponsored by Parker Daniels Keyboard and True North Private Investments.
Did your employer make you sign a promissory note when joining the company, and now you want to leave, but you're afraid your firm will pursue you personally for that debt? This is Jesse Keyboard from the law firm Parker Daniels Keyboard. I recently represented a client who had signed such a note, and I was able to get them out of their $500,000 debt to their company, which allowed them the freedom to exit a bad employment situation and enter a much better one. Meeting our clients' objectives is our focus at Parker Daniels Keyboard, and in this regard, we win. Our experienced trial team of lawyers at Parker Daniels Kibort have secured major victories in state and federal courts across the country and through arbitration. We have the legal expertise in all types of business disputes, labor and employment matters, real estate matters, shareholder disputes, financial transactions, security issues, and appeals. For wise counsel, winning results, contact us at Parker Daniels Kibort, a premier litigation law firm that provides efficient, aggressive, and innovative solutions to complex legal problems. Wise counsel, winning results. Go to parkerdk.com.
Are you a high-income earner or a business owner looking to secure your financial future? At True North Private Investments, they focus on helping you break free from the limitations of traditional investments. Diversify your portfolio with private equity, real estate, and credit opportunities built to thrive in any market condition. Plus, their tailored tax strategies are designed to help you keep more of what you've earned. Your success deserves a smarter approach. Choose True North to grow, protect, and optimize your wealth. Call them today at 619-455-0275 or visit investtruenorth.com.